Mitch Marsh was bred from a cricketer who also produced another one. There was nothing accidental about this giant Nepo baby taking over an Ashes test, right? Yet coming into this match, Mitch Marsh had the equal worst batting average of any number 6 in the history of the game. Now, of course, there are caveats here, like the fact he can bowl a little bit. In fact, he took a wicket today. And generally, the players with lower batting averages at number 6 do have some bowling or keeping skill. And it's also worth noting that that doesn't mean that Marsh is the worst. Like, there would be players who never actually made enough runs to even make it on this list in the first place. But number 6 is the easiest batting position in cricket, so it's not ideal to be last, or after today, second last. And that's not to say that Marsh is the all-time worst batsman. Javed Omar of Bangladesh obviously has that covered. But even if you look at this test, you've got Mitch Marsh and you've also got Zach Crawley, who is averaging barely any more than Marsh, and he doesn't bowl. But the one thing that they both have in common is impact. Even today, when Crawley only made 30-odd, Australia had to keep 3 fielders on the boundaries because when he starts to make runs, they end up having to chase a lot of leather. In fact, at one stage, he played such a dismissive pull shot that I would have been embarrassed to ever turn up at the Bowlers Union again after that. But of course, quite soon after that, he was gone. Mitch Marsh could have gone very early as well had he been caught, but he wasn't. And that was the difference between Australia being massively behind and still having a very good chance of winning this game. In fact, at the moment, he is probably the difference between them being in it or out of the contest. And of course, in classic Mitch Marsh style, it's also accidental. He was not supposed to play in this game. Cameron Green's injury opened the way, and the big bison charged through that opening like he wanted to hurt someone. From the first over-pitch ball that he smoked through cover, it was clear that he was going to be a problem for England. And this is a guy who in 2020 did not play a first-class game at all. And again in 2022. Before today, he only had one this year. When Marsh was playing a lot of red ball cricket, he was absolutely terrible in tests. Now that his fitness has stopped him from playing, he just comes out and destroys England casually. But this is not the first time that Australia has sort of half committed to him by accident, and he's been absolutely awesome. Marsh's greatest innings before this was the T20 World Cup final. Now, he played in the West Indies before that tournament, and they basically threw him up the order because, I don't know, there was no one else there. Then in the middle of the World Cup, they lose complete patience with him and they drop him. He makes it back into the team and he takes down New Zealand to win the title. And this was different because at least Marsh had proven his worth in white ball cricket over and over again. In red ball, whether it be test or first class, he's been just consistently ordinary. This is currently the only year in his entire career he's ever averaged over 50. And while you don't expect a player like him to make that mark regularly, he should get there from time to time because he does get on good runs. So never doing that has just shown that he's never been able to work out the best method of making consistent runs. Today he had an advantage because England were not expecting him to be any good. I mean, even more than that, they weren't actually expecting him to play, really. And even if they had a hint, there is a difference between knowing he was going to play and assuming he might come in if Cameron Green isn't fit. But Marsh is a fairly simple batter to work out. He loves length. This is his strike rates in Test cricket. You can see that compared to most players, he just absolutely wants you to pitch it up or drop short. And if either of those happens, he's going to hump you. There was a pull shot of Chris Woakes that was so disrespectful that I actually think Woakes' family should sue. And it was exactly the same with a bunch of full balls as well. There was a slap over point that was just unnecessarily violent. And he also smashed Mark Wood on a day when Australia looked absolutely terrified of that bowler. One reason England struggled to find the right length to Marsh was he moved around the crease a little bit, even taking steps down towards the bowler at times. And this isn't usually what you would see from his normal style of batting. But so many modern players now do that it's not surprising to see Mitch Marsh come back into the team and try this new method. And to someone like him, who's massive and who drives like a train through a cheesecake, it made England make even more errors than usual. I know that you think you could run your favourite cricket team better than those who do, but no one is going to let you do that. So why not try Wicket Cricket Manager to satisfy that urge? Pick your nation, pick your league, pick your players, and yell at them when they do poorly. You can find it in the links below or by searching for Wicket Cricket Manager in your app store today. But also, the English missed something today. These are the averages of Marsh against pace by the 4 most important zones in cricket. England bowled a lot on a length outside of off stump today, where Marsh averages 20, which is obviously not great. But when they bowled there, he couldn't score. However, they only bowled 8 balls on a length on the stumps, where he usually averages 2. It's actually 2.62. So let's call it 3 and agree that it makes no difference at all, that he's absolutely terrible on this line and length. He has 8 test dismissals there. But despite playing England more than any other team, they've actually only ever got him once from this, which means that they don't generally try this kind of knee roll bowling. And guess who the only team to get consistently whacked by Mitch Marsh is? Now, is this a coincidence? I don't know. But maybe aiming for the top of the knee roll of a tall guy who's desperate to drive and sometimes loses his shape is the way forward for England. Because certainly today, everything else they tried went to hell. I wrote in 2015 that Ben Stokes or Mitch Marsh had the biggest boom or bust potential around the world, as is almost always the way with all-rounders. They were either going to be legends or punchlines. Stokes is already the former, and Marsh has mostly stayed the latter. And he plays up to it as well. For instance, Mitch Marsh once direct messaged me on Twitter asking me to tell a girl that he liked about a time that he got hit really hard in the balls. I mean, that seems like a pretty out-of-the-box dating method to me, but I was happy to try help because while Marsh has not always been a great player, he's always been incredibly genuine. He's a big, goofy, fun guy. But today, it would really be hard to see this as anything other than a great innings. He was absolutely brutal, and no one else on his team looked like even hitting the ball off the square. It was just another day where Mitch Marsh, out of nowhere, was accidentally great.